Jack Dorsey has been notoriously hands-off. Recent events are forcing him to change. For years, his payments company, Block, was perceived as a success, even with him only in the background. Things changed last month when he started running Square, one of Block's marquee units, after his hand-picked deputy abruptly left. It is a make-or-break moment for the 46-year-old Dorsey. Twitter, the company he is best known for co-founding, has a new and controversial owner. Block, a lesser-known company, appeared not long ago to be posed to capitalize on a payments industry boom, but that hasn't gone according to plan. Block's recent acquisitions haven't delivered. Shares are down around 80% since their 2021 peak. And while that is in line with other fintechs, investors still aren't happy. Personal costs are through the roof, and Block has reported a string of quarterly losses. On Thursday, Dorsey said he is going to do something different. I believe there having been a number of things holding Square back. Some structural, some cultural, he wrote in a letter to shareholders, his first in years. On a call with analysts, Dorsey said silos, redundant teams, and unclear decision-making throughout the company had hurt Block. All those are a thing of the past, he said. Dorsey's long-practiced hands-off style stands in contrast to that of other tech founders, including new Twitter owner Elon Musk. Dorsey once decamped for a 10-day silent meditation retreat in Myanmar, while he was running both Twitter and the payments company. That approach can work. Warren Buffett, the legendary chief executive officer of Berkshire Hathaway, has long made it clear that the heads of his businesses can exercise control without his meddling. But for that tack to be successful, a CEO must leave behind one chief decision maker or be willing to step in himself. Teams must also want to work together. Those elements appear to be missing at Dorsey's Block. Investors have wanted to see a sharper focus overall from him, said Trevor Williams, an analyst at Jefferies. Dorsey seems to be listening. When Block announced in September that Alyssa Henry, the head of Square unit, was leaving, her replacement was a surprise Dorsey himself. Some employees said it has been invigorating to have their co-founder more involved. He has created a new strategy document for Square, according to people familiar with the matter. He also added 5 weekly meetings to address Square priorities. Whether that is enough remains to be seen. Even investors who view Dorsey as a visionary don't know if he can pivot to operating a company through an uncertain economy. Growth in the Square unit is slowing, and it is lagging behind competitors. Dorsey continues to work remotely much of the time. Dorsey started what is now Block in 2009. After his co-founder, a coder and glass-blowing artist named Jim McKelvey, couldn't sell one of his works because he couldn't accept credit cards. The company was originally named Square, a homage to the device they developed that allows smartphones to read credit card swipes. Dorsey controls more than 40% of the voting power of Block shares, and McKelvey controls another 11% or so, through their ownership of the special class of stock. During the early days at the San Francisco headquarters, Dorsey shunned having an office or even a permanent desk. He preferred to roam the hallways, iPad in his hand. In 2015, with Square preparing to go public, Dorsey took on the job of Twitter's CEO too. He started deferring even more to deputies, including Henry Brian Grassadona, who led what was then fledgling Cash App, and Sarah Fryer, who was chief financial officer. The lieutenants sometimes locked horns, and Dorsey was rarely interested in meditating.
How you like that?
Around 2018, Grassadonia and Fryer wanted to buy a startup, played for about $1 billion, according to people familiar with the matter. Henry, whose unit made up the bulk of the company's revenue in those years, didn't. She threatened to quit. The deal died. Plaid agreed to sell itself to Visa about 2 years later for $5.3 billion, though an antitrust lawsuit ultimately scuttled that deal. Soon after Block passed on Plaid, Fryer left to run next door. Block's board was told that others might leave because of how decisions were made at the top. Of the top 10 executives under Dorsey in 2018, 8 are now gone. Square and Cash App started to resemble separate companies where roles and resources were needlessly duplicated. For instance, Henry and Grassadonia tapped their own executives and teams to run legal affairs, compliance, communications, and marketing for their respective businesses. They also started to break into separate locations. Cash App opened its own office in San Francisco's Mission District. Around the same time, Square was trying to downsize its existing footprint in the city and move staff to Oakland, California. Dorsey, for his part, grew interested in other pursuits. Over time, he reduced the number of people he directly supervised. Amitra Ahua, who replaced Fryer as finance chief and is now also Block's chief operating officer, oversees Block's top legal and human resources executives. Those jobs used to report to Dorsey. In 2019, when Dorsey was running both Twitter and Block, he spent nearly a month in Africa meeting with crypto and entrepreneurs, then declared his intention to move there for a few months. The pandemic grounded those plans. Still, the announcement hurt his standing with investors at both companies, who were already concerned about his split duties. The activist hedge fund firm Elliott Investment Management launched a campaign to oust Dorsey as CEO of Twitter. At the same time, COVID was turning Block upside down. With people stuck at home, small businesses suffered, and the one dominant Square unit did too, but the Cash App unit ballooned, in part because it let users directly deposit their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits. Shares of the parent company shot higher. So did other fintechs. Armed with those valuable shares, Dorsey and other executives started eyeing acquisitions. Dorsey ordered his team to study the merits of buying platforms focused on content creators, including Patreon and Tidal, Jay-Z's music streaming platform, according to people familiar with the matter. Dorsey zeroed in on Tidal after spending time with Jay-Z in the Hamptons. Tidal operated at a loss at the time, among other problems, according to documents presented to a committee of Block board members that were partially made public in a shareholder lawsuit. Block announced in March 2021 that it would buy an 86% stake in a purchase valued at $297 million at that time. The deal closed soon after, and Jay-Z joined Block's board. A judge dismissed the shareholders' lawsuit, but called the deal a terrible business decision. Dorsey was less involved in talks for much bigger acquisition. In fact, Block's biggest ever, the Australian buy now, pay later company Afterpay. According to a regulatory filing by Block, Dorsey's top lieutenants met at least 17 times with Afterpay's founders before the acquisition. Dorsey attended 2 of the meetings, including one in-person meeting that took place over 2 days. Henry and Grassadonia decided that half of Afterpay would fall under Square and half would fall under Cash App. That setup made integration difficult, especially since much of Afterpay's staff remained on a different continent. Block said Thursday that Afterpay would no longer be split into 2. It would now fall under Cash App. The all-stock deal was worth $29 billion when it was announced in August 2021.
Buy now, pay later is an incredibly attractive space, going after a $10 trillion online payments industry, where we're about 2% penetrated today from a buy now, pay later perspective. But we're seeing those consumer sentiment shifts towards transparent borrowing opportunities like buy now, pay later, and with merchants who are looking for that omni-channel experience to serve buyers across channels, whether in person or online, through this means. And with Afterpay, we have the opportunity to strengthen and closely connect our seller ecosystem, which serves millions of merchants, and Cash App, which serves 70 million active consumers on an annual basis. Together, we can create an even more powerful commerce platform connecting the two.
The Federal Reserve started aggressively raising interest rates soon after, hurting the value of Block and other fintechs. All of Block is now worth about $30 billion. Dorsey resigned as CEO of Twitter in November 2021, but other projects continue to draw his attention. That includes Blue Sky, a decentralized social media platform he spun out of Twitter. He recently voiced support for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential bid.
A number of different services that help people grow their business. And our mission is very aligned with our customers in that as they grow, we grow.
I was getting some flowers for the office here downstairs. Very nice woman. And I said, oh, geez, you're using Square? She goes, well, why wouldn't I? And I thought that was a really interesting answer. You wouldn't have gotten why wouldn't I 5 years ago. It's part of the firmament.
That's right. Our job is to make these products and services seamless for our customers.
Cash App and Square have had high-profile stumbles. In March, the short seller Hindenburg Research accused Cash App of inflating its monthly active users by including fake and duplicate accounts. The company denied the report. The stock fell about 15% in a day. A widespread outage hit Square in September, and its card readers briefly stopped working for businesses around the world. Dorsey took over Square shortly afterward. The company said Thursday that Block would downsize from today's 13,000 headcount to 12,000 by the end of next year. The Bellagio stock shot higher after the announcement and jumped nearly 11% on Friday.
Oh, well, that's good news because so many people are worried about a recession. When I listen to what you guys are doing, I think the small, medium-sized business is doing pretty darn good. And that really is, it's true. It's cliche, but it is the engine of the U.S. economy.
That's right, and that's what we want to continue to serve.
Thank you so much. That's Amrita Ahuja, and she's Square's CFO. And I've got to tell you, I think Square's terrific here in the 60s. I think it should be bought. Stay with Craig.